And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge. I'm Anthony Irwin, joined on this fine Thursday evening by Raj Shapalu. The Lakers just absolutely mollywopped. I think that's my favorite term for ass kickings in sports is mollywop. But the Lakers just obliterated the Pelicans. They beat the Pelicans so bad, I think PETA might get involved. The final score here was 133 to 89. And LeBron James absolutely dominant, 30 points, 9 of 12 from the field. AD was a plus 35 in this game, which is just obscene. Raj, are you touching the ground currently? How are you doing?
Yeah, I gotta calm down. First thing though, Anthony, I want to ask you: have you flipped your decision on if these courts are good or not? I feel like these
No.
courts are amazing. I've loved almost every single one of them. I've disagreed every podcast I listened to. You absolutely hate on the courts. I even wore blue today because I was matching the court. I just wanted. I thought like that would really help, and it has. If
It's
the
not
Lakers are
bright
gonna,
enough.
yeah, that's true.
That sweatshirt doesn't glow in the dark. It's not bright enough to match the cords.
If they're gonna win like this, they can play on the moon. I don't care. I would love the court there. Like if
I
they're
was
gonna
gonna
win
say,
like this,
like, is that the only reason you like the cords? Is because they're 6-0 on these
that doesn't.
hideous abominations?
No, they're not hideous though. Like so, I don't know what. Honestly, I don't know what a shuffleboard is. I've heard you compare them to that, but like I love the courts. The only one that I think has a little bit of a problem is the super bright red ones. But even then, like you get used to it. You understand like which teams are going where, and like once the basketball starts getting played, you kind of get into it. I like the courts a lot. I think the Lakers one is real. Like I'd like the Lakers one once every month. Like I would I wouldn't be mad if that was like just a special court that they play on. I've loved the courts, and obviously the Lakers winning by a margin of like I think their win differential now, Anthony, is like 110. It was 77 coming in tonight. They won by what, like 40 tonight. So yeah, like up into the 110 numbers. Like I've loved the courts, so I disagree with you on that. You have not flipped your stance though? You still
No,
hate these courts?
they're hideous. They're disgusting cords. They're just gross.
No.
I'm gonna add a picture here to our library so that you can see what I'm talking about. What a shuffleboard table is.
Okay. Is that like a
Um, it
game? Like a it's a
it is. It's
like
like it's always at
okay
bars and stuff.
okay
Not normally the bars I think that you go to because
sure
I think you're more part of the club scene and I am like squarely in like sports bar era.
right.
But this is what a shuffleboard looks like. You see it there? You see
I
the
have n-
the
I have
line
never
going down the middle of it.
I've never seen that in my life. That's a real thing they put in bars?
Yeah. They're usually stuffed way back in the corner, and there's like two
Okay.
old people playing because like conversation is difficult at certain ages. But yeah, like that is normally like tucked away back in the back, like of sports bars. It's not normally at
Okay.
like bars. Like you don't normally see that where
Mhm.
there's like a live band or a DJ active there.
Mhm.
You don't normally see shuffleboards there, but it's a thing. Like everybody hit me up in the comments. I swear, like these like this is a court that they played on. You see that?
Right.
And then this
Yes.
is the shuffleboard thing that I'm talking about. It's just I can't
I don't.
unsee it.
No, I don't see it. Maybe if I saw a real shuffleboard, like maybe that would help me.
That
But
one's a
no.
little the design on this one's a little weird. I wanted one like that you looked right down, or like you also have like there's like live action shuffleboard that you actually like stand on the piece of cement and you slide the discs down like using like
Okay.
a stick. That one looks a little more close to what I'm talking about here too, but this is way too much shuffle. The Lakers just won by 44 points. I don't want to talk about shuffleboard the entire time here. I got to get to the trade stuff.
Oh
I'm
man,
kidding.
no. No. Jumping off. See you Saturday.
All right, you have a lot to choose from here. You have a lot because the Lakers played really well. What
Yeah.
was the most impressive part of this game to you?
I think you got to start with the defense, Anthony. And I think this team is already an elite defense. Like I think they have shown that. I think like since putting Cam into the starting lineup, they've had the best defense in the league, or at least top 3 or 4. The wing additions, obviously, with Vanderbilt coming back, you can't play two non-shooters against this team. Like I think that's clear. Anthony Davis and LeBron James were able to just stand in the paint, and the Pelicans. are like a really good team. They've been winning as of recently. They've got their guys back. Trey Murphy just got back. They beat the Kings, right, to qualify for this game. Zion is a guy that gets to the paint at will, no matter who he's playing against. And the Lakers were able to shut off the rim. And I think the other thing that really stands out is just how much versatility they have in terms of guys they can throw at your opposing
Yeah.
offensive players. I thought CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram were just never comfortable tonight. And that's something like we were just unable to do. How many games, Anthony, would CJ go off on us, being able to kind of get free off pick and rolls, get free on screens, be able to pull up over our guards? We used to have like D'Lo have to guard him, or Austin Reeves would have to stick on him. You have Cam Reddish chasing him around with like all this length,
Yeah.
and like when you switch off of him, it's Jarred Vanderbilt, right, who's flying around. Vando only plays, I think, 5 minutes in the first half, obviously still on a minutes restriction, but you just watch Brandon Ingram, like he comes up the floor and he's getting picked up full court by Cam Reddish, and then Taurean Prince was giving some size on him along with the help with AD. And then he gets him off him, and who comes in the game? Vanderbilt. And Brandon Ingram's like, oh man, like I gotta get at him as well. You combine that with the Lakers just removing the paint, and the Pelicans getting nothing easy. They ended up having to chuck threes by Jonas Valanciunas straight out of halftime. I think Valanciunas took like the first 3 shots because
Yep.
Willie Green obviously was like, you have to make them space the floor. And obviously, the Lakers did not respect that one bit. Valanciunas continued to get open threes. I think he hit 1 or 2. He might have. But I think the defense, to me, this is an elite, like championship style level defensive ceiling, I think, that this team has. And I think we're just getting the taste of it. Like we're just barely getting Vanderbilt minutes. We're having minutes with like Max Christie's like our third wing, and he comes in and shuts down who he's guarding. I think that combination with AD and LeBron being able to just be these free safeties on defense, it just looks elite. The Pelicans had like 80 points for most of this game, and I was with their starters playing. That was with Zion and BI both healthy. Their full team back besides Larry Nance. That's what stood out to me, Anthony. The defense, to me, I think, is absolutely elite in a place that we can really build our team and identity around.
Let's just look really quick. So I guess I'll start with the disclaimer. Kevin Durant the other night went 12 of 17, but he was just so like he was not touching earth in that game. You know, like he
Sure.
was incredible in that one shooting the ball. And even he kind of fizzled late, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um Devin Booker in that one goes 6 of 16 from the field in 37 minutes. Only attempted 1 3-pointer in that one. That is
Mm-hmm.
somebody who shoots 3-pointers on volume night in,
Yeah.
night out. And when you only get up 1 3, that kind of indicates to me that you are not very comfortable in that game. You mentioned
Right.
Brandon Ingram, you mentioned CJ McCollum. Brandon Ingram in this one, 31 minutes, 4 of 13 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3-point range, only 2 free throws on the night. So the Lakers, not
Mm.
only are they pressing up on him, they aren't even allowing him to get to the rim and make himself eligible for free throws via drive, right? CJ McCollum, 25 minutes. Now he's recovering from an injury, so I guess we should mention that as context. But in 25 minutes, 4 of 14 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3-point range, 9 points for him tonight, was a game worst minus 38. A game worst minus 38 in this one. And I think that has a lot to do with what you're talking about here. We talked about it on All Access Lakers, which, check us out there, make an account. Playback.tv/all access Lakers is where you can watch games with us. But we were talking about this, and there just isn't very much overlap in
Yeah.
the number of wings that the Lakers have, which allows them to play together, which allows them to just come like you're talking about. They just come at guys in waves. It's just
Yeah.
like 6'8" guy after 6'8" guy after 6'8" guy, and they're all like decent to elite athletes. I'm watching Cam Reddish move, and obviously he hasn't lived up to his draft
Sure.
position, right? He has had I would say, disappointing career to this point, but he's still like part of the reason he was drafted there is because of the kind of athlete he is. And he just moves out there. I've called him Cat Reddish all season, and I'm praying that
Mm-hmm.
it sticks because he is just so effing quick on his feet, like just absolute elite feet. that he has out there, and he plays defense a certain way. And then Jarred Vanderbilt comes out there and he beats you over the top of the head with just athleticism and physicality. And if you want to go further into the physicality thing, you can play Rui Hachimura, who is built like a goddamn boulder.
Yeah.
And then if you want some more quickness out there, you can play Max Christie, who, like you're talking about, is becoming a legitimately good defensive presence in his second season.
Yeah.
And like all of these guys, they allow LeBron and AD to play as like strong and free safeties on defense. LeBron as a safety or like a middle linebacker who can just kind of dictate where guys stand defensively, knowing where guys need to stand to gum up an offense. That
Yeah.
allows him to engage without being so taxing defensively. And then, oh, by the way, anchoring it all is this freaking pterodactyl who just, like you talk about, swallows up the paint. Like,
Yeah.
again, Brandon Ingram shot 2 free throws tonight. Eventually, he just gave up on driving. We saw it last year in the playoffs with AD, where he was forcing Ja Morant, maybe the best athlete in the NBA right now, pound for pound, arguably the most explosive player I have ever seen. He was forcing Ja Morant into like 15-foot floaters last year.
Yeah.
And like that was while he wasn't surrounded by this much athleticism defensively. This team, man, like I tweeted it out. I said it on All Access Lakers. I think they are capable of playing like the type of defense that carries you through to the finals and allows you to make successful trips to the finals. You
Yeah.
don't see this type of defense very often.
No, and James Harden came out recently and said, "Look, I'm a system," right? And that was kind of lapped around in terms of his offensive success. I think Anthony Davis is a defensive system, like, of himself. I think you can build like a really
Mhm.
you don't need much to have an elite defense around Anthony Davis.
But
Anthony, you
if you
put
have it,
Anthony yes, if you put elite wing defenders around AD, and they just keep coming in, right? I was watching this game tonight, and like Rui Hachimura checks in. I was like, oh my god, like that's probably one of your worst, just in terms of wing defenders that you would deploy. But he's still a
yeah,
big physical dude, and you can throw him on Zion. Like there were bench units. I remember I was laughing because we were talking about it. AD went out, and I was a little concerned. And obviously Jackson Hayes isn't Anthony Davis, but he's still like one of these top 1% just athletes that you just throw out there and you just stack it. You just stack strengths on strengths. So like AD goes out, you're like, all right, let's attack the rim. You get to the rim, it's Vanderbilt, Jackson Hayes, it's LeBron still at the rim, and there's just a lot of wing talent coming at you. My favorite part about this, Anthony, is that Taurean, he got a couple minutes at it tonight, but for the most part, Taurean doesn't have to play the 3. Like he's a 2 on this team, and I
yeah.
think that makes a big difference when you're able to throw like your wings on other guys and you're able to deploy him more. Threw him on Ingram. A lot of that was, I thought he did a nice job staying with him. Taurean chased him around screens, stayed at his hip, but AD came over and helped because he's just sitting in the paint. But I think like just moving Taurean to the 2 and then just having wings flying around. Again, Vando's not even playing yet. Cam Reddish, I think, is our best. Like you talked about it, how none of their skills overlap. And like Cam Reddish, I think, is our best just screen navigator.
Yeah.
Would you call him a cat? I see like
Yeah.
cat, snake, like able to like get around, screens and get skinny around picks, all this length, all these deflections.
So much
Vando's is
back
kind of
pressure. Like nobody
oh,
ever looks comfortable when when they turn the
mm-hmm,
corner on a pick. Normally, like that's what it's basically how D'Angelo Russell functions, right?
yep,
He gets around a pick and then he puts guys in jail and he essentially like walks them into the paint while they are on their back,
mm-hmm,
while they are on his back. And like with Cam, you can tell nobody is ever comfortable because
yeah,
he has such long arms. He gets off of the ground so quickly, and he is still so like closely attached after that screen that like even if they get a quote unquote advantage by going around getting a step around that screen, it doesn't last for very long. And oh, by the way, waiting on the other side of that screen is that guy Anthony Davis. Like those. So like think about this, Raj. Like we basically are living in the era of the pick and roll, right?
yep,
So much of these offenses are predicated on like having 2 great offensive weapons that hopefully fit together well enough in
mm-hmm,
in this kind of a set, and it gives you like a man advantage as soon as that guard turns the corner or the forward turns the corner there. Think about it like this: what the Lakers can effectively do with the number of wings that they have is basically all of these offenses, the like 106-mile-an-hour fastball that they would throw would be the big little combination in the pick and roll. Thing is,
Right.
the little is guarded by Cam Reddish, and he applies all of that back pressure. And the big waiting on the other side of that thing is Anthony Davis. So if you are
Yeah.
taking away, if you are effectively consistently hitting that 106-mile-an-hour fastball out of the park every time, or you're fouling it off long enough so that like you get the hung curveball that you can then smack out of the park. Like if you're able to do that with the best part of these offenses, this is why they look so hapless. Because normally, in order to find a shot, in order to like find themselves an opportunity to get themselves back on track, that's what they would go to. But then they go to it and they're like, this is a really terrible combination to try to
Right.
score on. This sucks, coach. Can we just try isolation? And then you have all of the guys that the Lakers have who are effective isolation defenders.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that was a lot of baseball in there, but I think I got it. a lot of curveballs and
Like I could actually
balls me. A lot of balls we get out of them. I was like just
actually a thought
imagining.
cloud above you. It was like, I think
I think I was following along though. But
yeah.
no, you said this is the era of pick and roll. It's also the era of mismatch hunting, right? And
Yeah.
like one of my favorite things these last two games was like Devin Booker. He was like he had I think he had Cam on him, and he's asking for a screen. Or no, he had Vando on him. He asked for a screen. Turns into Anthony Davis, and then he's like, "Oh shoot, let me get another screen." And right back again, it's Vando again, and like he's like, "Oh shoot," and he kicks it out to the corner. And it's a shot clock violation. And again tonight, right? Brandon Ingram. Again,
Yep.
Brandon's a great isolation scorer, but he's their top of the key creator, right? They really don't start a point guard. Jose Alvarado plays point, but he's also kind of he's a modern point guard where he's a point guard that just doesn't shoot like he does
He's like a
shoot, but
wing
like a
point
three.
guard, right?
Yeah, exactly, like a three
He's
and
like
D
the kind of
guard.
point guard that, yeah, like he's the kind of point guard that you have out there because your wing does all of your creating.
Exactly. So Brandon Ingram's one of those kind of prime 1A on ball creators. And there were so many times where like he's asking for a screen. It's like Cam and it's Vando, then it's Anthony Davis, and he's taking like a contested 2 over AD. And it's like that was your shot. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
that's why the offense like just diluted to Jonas Valanciunas open 3. Jonas Valanciunas open like at the free throw line. Zion Williamson, they guarded Zion like LeBron was absolutely just stuck in the paint. And to me, that gives the Lakers too much of an advantage. They're too good defensively to give them advantage on defense. And they took over. And that's why I think you saw a 40-point just blowout. They were up 12-3, Anthony, if you remember. And I thought that game, when New Orleans came out, I thought with a lot of energy, but they just could not get to the basket. When you remove the paint from a team that like lives inside, you're gonna start dominating. I think the Lakers had the ability to do that with all their switchable guys. The smallest guy on the floor is gonna be like 6'4", whether that's D'Lo, Austin Reeves, or Gabe Vincent. So like the smallest guy on the floor will be one of those guys. Will be one of those guys.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Uh,
Gabe is on the team. Um, no, like I think another way of putting it is basically the Lakers are able to on any given night take away. So again, I'm going to use a different sport analogy here, a different sport comparison here, but
all
like
right.
what makes Bill Belichick the genius that he is in football is that
Mhm.
he essentially takes away game in game out the thing that makes the other team special, the thing that they absolutely need to function properly on offense, right? So like they played against the Miami Dolphins earlier this year, the New England Patriots did, and he essentially just like had coverage over the top to make sure that Tyreek Hill didn't get open down the field. He also was doubling him in the slot to make sure that Tyreek wasn't making any comfortable catches. And this is a guy, by the way, Tyreek Hill is about to set the record for most reception yards in the season, and he made him look pedestrian. Right? It took a lot of effort, and it took all of that, all of that attention to make that work. And that's the thing that the Lakers are able to do here is that like night in, night out, the other team is going to have the thing that allows their offense to operate at the highest possible level. This next game that the Lakers are going to play on Saturday is going to be against the Indiana Pacers. And essentially what they are going to try to do is absolutely minimize an aspect of Tyrese Halliburton's game, right? And
Yeah.
and what I what's crazy is that I'm like fairly confident that they'll be able to do something like that. The Pacers are probably going to have a record-breaking offense this year, might be the most prolific offense ever. And I actually have a decent amount of confidence going into this thing because, like, what the Lakers are able to do on the perimeter, where they just suck up all the oxygen out there, and they also minimize what you're able to do if you get into the paint, because AD's that pterodactyl still. Like, again, the Pelicans came into this one playing well. The Suns
Yep.
came into the game against the Lakers the other night playing well, especially
Yep.
offensively. And both nights, for stretches, the Lakers made both teams look absolutely hapless, hopeless, and it was just like tonight was just a marvel. Where you're talking about the threes that Valanciunas is shooting. It's because they're taking away options A, B, C, D, and E, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Fuck it, Jonas, what do you got?"
I'm like 99% sure Willie Green told like Jonas at halftime, take every single shot. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
where we're gonna get an open look, and you have to shoot. And he came out hitting, taking three. I don't think he made any of the corners threes, but again, like I think that just gives the Lakers too much of an advantage. But to your point, Anthony, like I think this team, they're super versatile and they can play different defensive coverages, right? Against Phoenix, they were trapping a lot of those screens. They were able to send two. We made Devin Booker have like a half court violation. Do you remember that trap? I think it was like AD and Vando at half court, and like Booker hit like the heel. Katie had a good shooting night. A lot of those shots to me, you kind of have to live with contested twos. Like if he's taking contested threes off of offensive rebounds, and against Indiana as well, I think that's a team where you're gonna have to mix up your coverages. But this is like what I said this I think before, but this is like great offense versus a great defense, and
yeah,
one person has to kind of control the pace and like control the style of the game. And I think this is one where the Lakers are going to be able to walk the ball up the floor, attack mismatches, right? I'm sure LeBron's going to hunt Halliburton on one end, and just slow the game down, make it an ugly kind of fist fight. And if you're able to kind of, I've never like killed a snake, but they say like cut the head off of the snake or whatever. Like, I think that's a real saying. But
yeah,
like with Halliburton, if you're able to put pressure on the ball to me for him and kind of mix up your coverages, I love like Vando and Cam to be able to throw at him different styles, different defensive
and
kind of
Max, and
yeah, Max as well. Max is crazy. I think he's our most like just fundamental defender, if that makes sense. Like he's like extremely
he's a
technical.
second year player. Yeah,
Yeah, but he's like super technical. If you watch him defend, everything is just correct. Like if a coach was watching him, you'd be like, that's exactly how I want you to defend. Vando's more of a chaos creator, and Cam kind of uses his athleticism to kind of like Cam will cheat a screen, but he can do
yeah,
that because he's so long. Max is just pure. I'm doing
yeah.
exactly what I was taught. Like I'm everything
Like
is
a
technical
clinic.
and
Yeah,
yes, everything is super sound. I just love having those three styles defensively. Taurean, I think, is like a smart defender. I don't agree with him as like our most like putting him on our best defensive matchups, but I think he's a solid just team defender. And those starters tonight, Anthony, by the way, were a plus 51.6 net rating. They threw up an 80.6 defensive rating on a Pelicans team that was seventh in offense in the last 10 games. So they like once they started getting healthy, getting Zion, Brandon back, they've been a top 10, top 7 offense, and we shut that all down with our starters. So yeah, just a solid game, and we're gonna have a solid game plan against Indiana. But ooh, we've had our wings for 2 games. It's look good. Lock the door. No one else is coming into this team, Anthony. Lock the door. Throw the keys away. Let's. We're building from inside the house, baby. We're building from inside the house.
I don't think that's how construction works. I don't think. I don't think you build.
That's true. Yeah, that's not how homes
So
are built. Is what you're saying?
I built myself a 15 square foot house. I'm very proud of it.
From the inside out. Very fair. Very fair.
All right. The next thing that I think we have to hit on here in terms of like what is just again a marvel, LeBron. Like, what?
Oof.
Are you shitting me? Like, somebody had the comment in the chat tonight while we were on the air that like LeBron is moving better at 38 than Zion is moving at 23, and it's like not even
Yeah.
close. It's just not even close. And I think one thing that the type of defense that the Lakers are playing is allowing him to do is get out in transition, where LeBron is the best transition player ever. The best. It's not
Mhm.
debatable here. He is a freight train when he gets out there, and I think that has opened up the game for him. He had a shot going tonight, right, where he had those few heat checks in a row that went down. And I think, like, Darvin Ham actually just now in his post game, right, on LeBron, said he's the ultimate tone setter. He set an unbelievable tone on both sides of the basketball for us tonight, and his teammates just followed suit. And you saw it in this one, right? He takes Zion right from the get, and I think that kind of signaled to everybody, we're winning this thing, and we're going to win it impressively, because what guarding Zion at his age effectively is
Mhm.
nothing short of impressive, at the very least, if not like miraculous, medically
Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah, and LeBron is still like like his mind is always, I think, ahead of his body, even if his body can't catch up. But you made the point a lot on playback that he's been healthy this season, right? And I do think the
He's
difference
definitely a
in
trooper.
yeah, he's absurd. 9 for 12 from the field in 22 minutes. I think he played tonight.
Yeah.
23 minutes. Yeah. But to me, the jump shot, like him going from a 32% shooter to a 39% 3-point shooter, that 7% like might not feel a lot, but it's a ton. Like that just
Yeah.
really it increases his margin of not just efficiency, but just the style of basketball that he can play. And I think it seeps in Anthony to the rest of his game, where he's also taking he's taking mid-range jumpers too. He's coming off screens, pulling up. He's taking fadeaways. He's getting to the rim more. He's getting to the foul line. He's hitting I think he's hitting his free throws. But the jumper to me changes everything, and he looks like in transition. There was a play where like Brandon Ingram was in his way and just absolutely wanted to get the hell out of
Oh,
the
in
way.
transition. Yes, yeah. They even like
Still,
zoomed in on slow mo
mhm.
on Brandon, and you could actually see he's just like, oh.
Like you lessen LeBron's defensive load in terms of like he doesn't have to guard the other team's wing, right? Like last year early before, we made our trades, like Patrick Beverly was our wing defender. And so what would happen, that's a real thing. That's
That
like
was a thing.
it
No,
was
for
a
sure
thing.
was a thing.
Malik Beasley is learning that, Milwaukee is learning that a little bit right now with Malik Beasley. But what would happen a lot is LeBron would have to guard Brandon Ingram. Like, who else were you going to put on him? It was either AD or
Yeah.
LeBron. You're not going to put Lonnie Walker or Patrick Beverly on purpose. So, like, I think you just lessen his load where he has to move his feet as much defensively. Like, Zion's a guy he can just guard in the paint and just take the body blows. It was so strange watching Zion like want AD rather than LeBron. He's like, no, I can't go through LeBron. Bring me Anthony Davis. And none of those were very successful. But yeah, LeBron is I keep tweeting like he has no business being this good, and I'll just keep saying it until he's not. But like
Yeah.
it's amazing. There's no words for it anymore. There's nothing that's ever matched that. There's nothing to compare it to. And he's just been incredible. So he's been a monster. One more game, Anthony. One more. We're gonna win the we're
So,
gonna win
well,
the cup.
no, there's a whole season after it. There's a whole
Yes, yes,
actual
yes,
playoff that matters,
yes.
but
That's right.
like, um, so
Yeah, it's not the NBA Finals. Almost
you
forgot.
wear you wear the blue sweater, and it's like that's
Oh
all
yeah,
that
it seeps
matters.
in.
All right, but the moment that I thought that we were going to get a special night tonight from
Mm.
LeBron, he took a three,
Oh
and
yeah.
so if you watch him shoot, LeBron really prefers to have his left foot down and then step into his shot with his right foot, right? And he
Hmm.
kind of likes that momentum. So I'm left-handed, but I'll do it with my right hand, I guess, here. So he likes that momentum to carry through his shot and release it this way, where his shoulders are almost kind of like squaring up to the basket as he is shooting. It gives him a little extra momentum. Not
Hmm.
that he needs it. He's built like a Greek god, but I think just in terms of rhythm, that's how he prefers to shoot. But he came around the screen or something like that tonight, and he actually fired one that looked really clean, where he stepped right left. And
Hmm.
on nights that he shoots a shot right left and it goes in, I'm telling you, this is purely anecdotal, but I'm telling you, it's a 1 zillion% fact. When he hits that shot, he is shooting the shit out of the ball that night, because right after that, and I can maybe find the clip, because this is when he went on his little like single-handed
Yeah.
11-3 run or whatever it was. Um, he hits that first one, and I said, "Oh, that's a right left step. He's
Mm-hmm.
feeling it right now." The next shot he takes is a standstill, break for the 3-pointer that he knocks in somebody's face. He
Mm-hmm.
makes that one. The next play after that is the logo three that he hits.
Yeah.
Uh, and then the Lakers kind of fumbled around a little bit. They didn't get him the ball back, even though it was hilarious. Rui got like a rebound or something like that, was pushing the ball in transition, and LeBron, you could like actually watch him tracking. It almost looked like LeBron was ready to like spike one of Rui's layups. How like
Yeah.
when he gets one of those chase down blocks, right? You can actually like watch him size up those steps, and it almost looked like he was doing that to Rui as Rui was going down the court. And you could like see him going like, I trail, I'm behind you, trail. The ball goes to Austin. Austin shoots the three instead, and
Yeah.
all of us on there was like, get the ball to LeBron, you know. And then like a couple plays later, LeBron gets that layup or whatever, and that's how you got to the 11-3 total run there that he went on by himself. But like what you're talking about is such a great point about his shooting and what it does for the rest of his game, because last year, essentially, what teams were doing if they really wanted to muck up the offense while LeBron had the ball in his hands was they would just go under screens, right?
Yeah.
They would just go under those screens, and if he didn't feel confident shooting the three that night, he wouldn't take them, and it would gum up the offense, and the Lakers just wouldn't be very effective that night. Some nights he would take them still and just not make them, right? He shot 32% from 3-point range last year. This year, though, with the way that he's shooting the ball, that is not a viable defense. It's the only defense that they can really play because it's LeBron James, and
Yeah.
somehow at age 38, he turns 39, I believe, this month. Like at age 38, you have to go under a screen on this guy because athletically he's going to turn the corner on you if you don't. But that is not like a viable defense that teams can play here with the way that he is shooting and the confidence that he has in that shot. So yeah, you know, I see Matt is making the point that like it's kind of crazy and maybe says something about the Lakers that LeBron is still this
Yeah.
far and away their best player or whatever. And it's like fine or whatever. It is insane that he is that at 38 years old, but it isn't like he's this much farther ahead of everybody. And it's because the Lakers are bad.
Right.
He's LeBron effing James, man.
No,
Like at the end of his career, we're gonna look back on him and it's like that's the best basketball player I've ever seen, and
he's
especially for as long as he's been that good.
he's not I mean, like, it's part of what we have to say, but he's not good for 38. He's just good. You know what I mean? Like, he's, like,
Mhm.
legit really good. He still looks like one of the best. He can be the best player on a title team. He's at what, like, 25, 8 and 7, I believe, this year. But to your point, Anthony,
Yeah,
with the jump shooting, like, obviously when a team's locked in or when it's the playoffs, I still think like there's just no amount of threes LeBron can hit where a team's gonna like take him shooting threes, like defend him taking threes over taking away the rim, right? But like in the regular season, there is a little bit of that just hesitancy, and that little bit gives him space. And like you combine that, he was getting to the rim last year, obviously, but not like this. Like there was a
no,
play he had to came out of a timeout. We ran a pick and roll, and he saw JV and Jonas Valanciunas is back. Like he's already like retreating, right? Because he's like,
yeah,
I need to stand back. And LeBron goes right through him, takes the body blow, and does the underhand layup. I'm like, holy crap, that was not there
yeah,
last year. That was just not. And you combine that also like AD not shooting well. I think like the point is at least one of them have to be able to shoot well. I think also the part of the problem last year was both of them couldn't shoot. Like you combine both of them unable to shoot with starting no shooters. Like it's a really bad combination. But this year, at least with LeBron being able to shoot, it just increases our margin. And then we played two teams that can't switch to LeBron AD pick and roll. If you can't switch that action, you're kind of dead in the water. Like if you
yeah,
cannot, if you and most teams do, they just like they kind of live with an AD post up or a LeBron. Like it used to be a LeBron step back three a lot of the times. But like this year, at least Pelicans don't switch it. You can't put JV on LeBron. He just gets killed in that in the thin
yeah.
air. And Phoenix doesn't want to
Same
switch either, right? Because
Nurkic.
they have Nurkic and LeBron.
Mhm.
Just like those teams have no chance against us, in my opinion. Like especially even if it was a close game, late clock. Like you're not stopping LeBron from getting the rim. Anthony Davis gets offensive rebound opportunities. Like to me, that's where getting and this is where I think we need to get AD going a little bit offensively. That's my biggest last question with this team is, can AD being this kind of inept offensively in terms of his game, like, is that enough to win it all? But LeBron looks absolutely amazing. He looks clearly ready. And how do we get him? How do we get this LeBron to April? Like that should be the like whiteboard plan making by everyone, by Darvin and whoever else is making the game plans.
Well,
Like
but like
that.
the defense
Mhm,
they're playing is going to, right? The
right.
defense
Mhm,
that they're playing, with him, like he was guarding Zion tonight, and like Zion, I think you said while we were talking on All Access Lakers tonight, you said that he's taken like 3 or 4 shots outside of the paint all season to
yeah.
this point,
Doesn't shoot
right?
them. Hmm.
And so like LeBron was guarding Zion, and basically while Zion had the ball at the top of the key or at the top of the three
Hmm.
point line, LeBron was just basically like in the paint. And while he was
Hmm.
in the paint, he was like, again, conducting the defense. You go there, you stay here, you do all
Yep.
these things. The play against Devin Booker that has been highlighted since they played, right? The steal that he made, that eventually he got fouled on the other end. He starts in that in that pick and roll. He slides off of the pick and roll. His guy vacates to the backside. He says, "You got there, Cam, you go stand over here. This is the pass that I know that they're going to make if you stand here." And he slides in and he takes that pass. And you watch what he's able to do basically by standing in the middle of the defense and
Hmm.
and and again standing. So like the thing that has allowed LeBron to be as effective this long, somebody wrote this piece on him a couple years back, or maybe it was last year, but the amount of walking that he does on a court
Hmm.
is like what really helps save his legs, right? Those steps that he's taking, he's able to walk around. And in prior years, if he was doing that defensively, it was really hurting the Lakers because
Hmm.
they didn't have the personnel to allow him to do that. But with this type of personnel, with this number of wings, he can literally stand there stationary and until the very last minute know which pass the defense or the offense has to make to take advantage of whatever the Lakers give up defensively. He knows where to be there, and it really closes off what that team is able to do. But throughout that entire possession, he's moving as much as I have moved while I've made this point. And so like it's a special kind of defense that the Lakers are able to play. And when we talk about like, and look, like freak injuries are going to happen, and knock on wood that they don't. But in terms of like what is going to get LeBron there and still be fresh, this is what it's going to look like. And especially if like D'Lo and Austin are even
Right.
okay over 3/4 of the game, so that all LeBron needs to take over is the fourth.
That was gonna be my next point. So the Lakers have started to let D'Lo run the first quarter, right? So it's basically D'Lo's first unit. He's on ball. He's creating all the shots. Him and AD are in pick and rolls. He's the one running the actions, deciding where the ball goes. LeBron will attack here and there, in the first quarter, and then the second quarter is kind of Austin's unit. And I've loved like the units that they put with him recently, Anthony. So it's like Austin, AD next to like Max, Rui, like just these super flying around wings where Austin has really no defensive pressure. And Austin's getting all these steals, all these deflections,
Yeah.
and then it's like pick and roll straight with AD at the top or on the wings. And Austin's still not great in terms of like being a playmaker out of that, but he just has a lot more options now. Rui's able to give some versatility to that lineup, but LeBron's able to not have to run the offense for 38 minutes a night. And I think that helps, even if those offensive units are not as productive as he is when he's point guard, when he's running point. And obviously, like LeBron might be one of the best point guards ever, so that's a tough bar to reach. But I think Austin and D'Lo can kind of get there in
What
terms
I
of
think the
just
only thing LeBron isn't is one of the greatest shooting guards ever, right?
yeah, that's
Because
fair.
we've seen him be great as a point
Small
guard.
forward,
Obviously,
power
small forward
forward,
is like power forward. He's been incredible, and then at center last year for stretches, he was like doing center shit at like an
right?
elite level.
Yeah, yeah, right. So I mean, you could just put LeBron in great, and just you could add anything after that, and he'd be fine. Like best rim protector, like one of the, best. Like he might be even a better passer than he is, and he just broke the record for scoring. So there's all that. But I do like at least the versatility that's going on, and if Taurean can shoot, and like I know we both been extremely critical. I think he's shooting like 42% from three in his last 11 games now. That just increases our margin for error by so much. Like when that ball swings around 3 times and Taurean hits the three, like the amount of momentum
Yeah.
he hit his threes tonight, Anthony. We won by 50. Like like that's to me the margin of what
It is
happens.
funny. Like to this point of the season, we basically been saying like, man, what would it look like if they made their threes? And it was like a 50 piece. That's what it would look like. Like
And
the Lakers would beat the shit out of some team to the tune of 44 points if you just shot okay.
they and it's not like we're asking them to take Damian Lillard threes. Like these are corner threes. Like Cam Reddish hit one, and like we all cheered on playback, and it's like a wide open corner three, which is like the easiest,
Yeah.
most standard open shot in the NBA. Torian hit a few like corner threes as well. So he had like a wing transition three. D'Lo hit 2 wide open ones. Like when our open threes go down, the floodgates open, because I think this defense is
Yeah.
legit. It's consistent. It's something you can take with you on the road, at home, in Vegas, wherever you play. The defense can travel. It's the offense to me that like we'll see if the offense continues to stay with them in Vegas in a few days. But like if our threes are going down, I think our defense is just so good that you're gonna win like a lot of these games, and you have a chance to blow teams out when you do that. Because you're able to stay consistent on that side, and that's our identity. Like really good defense, hit open shots, and LeBron and AD be incredible. That's the formula of success. It worked. What is it? 2023, 3 years ago. That's the success formula again this year.
Well, I think part of it too is that defense is such a market inefficiency, right? Every team has basically been built to exist and thrive in
Mm-hmm.
this offensively driven era. And
Mm-hmm.
when you are able to defend the way that the Lakers were able to defend, and you're able to take those teams out of their comfort zone where they have scored in the way that they like Phoenix, when they weren't able to score, when they weren't able to get like offense or, decent looks in their offense, they just look so flustered, right?
Mm-hmm.
You saw it again tonight where and even in that Phoenix game, I had made the point a couple times where like, Phoenix made their run to get back into it, then the Lakers threw another haymaker defensively, and then you're watching Phoenix and you're like, man, they just look exhausted. They just look
Yeah.
downtrodden, and you watch this game here and I thought the Pelicans were playing fine. I didn't think that they were
Mm-hmm.
playing that poorly. And hell, it was a close first quarter. And then the Lakers like really like, tightened those bolts
Yeah.
and really just clenched down on their throats. And it was just they looked exhausted. They looked downtrodden. They looked, um you guys know this. I'm a big, nature freak and like
You're gonna
my
throw
my
more
like
stuff I don't know about at me. You're gonna throw
nature, you
nature.
don't know about nature.
I mean, I know
You
nature, but
live in nature. We are parts of nature. But anyway, so like there was this clip that I saw that was like shown across my feed on like Facebook reels, I think is what they are. And it was this Komodo dragon who was eating like a deer while the deer was watching him eat it. And like you just looked at the deer. I'm telling it was super metal. But
wow.
like the deer is just like looking at him and he's like, "Man, that was my shoulder. Fuck." And I feel like tonight I'm watching the Pelicans tonight and like in that second quarter and when the Lakers really started extending their lead, they're just looking at it like, "Shit. What happened?"
Yeah.
Like like I'm sure at some point that deer like thought to itself, "Man, what happened? How did I
Yeah.
arrive here?" And the poor Pelicans tonight are just like looking at us like, "What? Where where'd he come from? I finally got by somebody and there's Anthony freaking Davis? This sucks."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that like, 10-point lead turns into a 17-point lead, which turns into a 26-point lead. And then by the end of the game, it's a 44-point ass kicking. And
Yeah.
I really think like that's the part of if you're capable of doing it, and not everybody is capable of doing it because only one team is going to employ an Anthony Davis or a Rudy Gobert or a Draymond Green back when he was in his prime. But if you're able to develop an identity and a sustainable identity on the defensive side of things, I really think that's a legitimate market in efficiency, as every other team has built towards offense.
So I think it's funny where like when LeBron James was kind of like coming into his prime, the thought was always LeBron plus shooters equals championship, right? And that's kind of been switched, I think, as the game has kind of evolved, where everyone is adding shooting and where versatility is more important in the playoffs, in my opinion. Anthony, the first players to go, like in terms of to be removed, is guys
Yeah.
who can only shoot. Those are guys
The
that get
single
wiped
tool.
out. Right. They're wiped out right away, right? Like Malik Beasley wiped out right away. In like, I don't even know if he got an opportunity. I think he was wiped out earlier, but in any case, like those guys are just gone. And I think it's kind of flipped to where like LeBron James, NAD plus a like elite defense is like to me more of a formula for success. And I think that's what we're seeing, a team that can really shut your water off, and they can demoralize you in a way where like you don't even get a shot up. Like how many shot clock violations have we caused, in the last few games? Like a lot of teams can't even get a shot up out of a timeout. Phoenix comes out and runs their offense, Katie and Devin Booker on the floor, and they can't get a shot up. Like that's stuff to me that really shows and proves to me that this is where the team should lean on. This is what their identity is. I think you're getting Cam, Max, Vando, Taurean, like just all these Rui, like all these wings that can fly around. And I think that's where they can be dominant. And I think LeBron will be able to carry the offense when needed. Still need a little bit more shooting around him. I would like guys to hit their open shots a little bit better. I think Austin's starting to get in a groove, but man, we've had our wings for 2 days and it's looked incredible. It's looked really fun so far.
Yeah, I am going to get to a question here to wrap up the show here. Are the Pacers legit is the question. And
Mm,
their offense certainly is. I think their defense is really going to struggle against the Lakers' physicality.
mhm.
But their offense, like if Tyree, if Halliburton is able to get things going both as a passer and a scorer, they are unbeatable. There is nothing that you can do against them as a unit, because he is so effective as a shooter, especially that it stretches your defense to breaking points. Right, that's what Steph used to do. Basically, is
Yeah.
you think of every defense as like a plank of wood, and you keep pulling down on it, you keep pulling down on it, you keep pulling down on it. Eventually it's going to break. um and that's essentially like what like Halliburton is able to do, right? He bends your defense, he bends your defense, he bends your defense, and then eventually it's going to snap. For me though, I think the Lakers are versatile enough on defense to bend but not break, right? The
Sure.
bamboo cliche. They're gonna keep bending, they're gonna keep bending, they're gonna keep bending, but eventually they're gonna snap back, and that
Mm.
to me is gonna be really interesting to watch in this matchup where um the it's like this, it's this inverse matchup where the Lakers are elite defensively and the Pacers are elite offensively. But I think the
Yep.
Lakers offense is better than the Pacers defense. And that's why I would
Mhm.
take the Lakers in this matchup.
I would too. I think like you said, they're a legit offensive team. Like I think that's where they hang their hat. They're a like plus 3.8, net rating offensively. Um they're they're not winning games by much, and to me that's just an unserious like style of basketball. Like I just don't think that's consistent, and I don't think that's something that's like able to stay. Like I don't think that's something that they can do all season and like make the playoffs doing that. Like I just
Mhm.
don't follow that. I think they're gonna get better, as the season goes. Halliburton though is a legit like superstar. Like that's what they're legit
For
about. Like
sure.
that's to me what their team is built around. That's what they're hanging their hat on. That's the whole reason they're winning. I think a lot of it too, Anthony, like just the aesthetic of his jump shot, like teams play off of it still. Like he's shooting so well, but I feel like just the way he loads it up, teams still just don't respect it. And I think that's the wrong way to go about it. Like you have to play him like he's a shooter off pick and rolls. Like tonight,
Mhm.
who did they beat? I'm blanking. But like
Milwaukee.
they ran Milwaukee, yes, Milwaukee ran a lot of drop coverage on him, and Milwaukee does that anyway because they just don't have a lot of switchable like bigs. Like Brook Lopez is kind of their center, but like they played a lot of like drop coverage back on him, and Tyrese Halliburton cooked him. And I just think like he's more of a guy that you want to pressure, you want to make him uncomfortable. You let Tyrese come off pick and rolls free, he's gonna cook your offense. He's coming
Yeah.
around, he's playmaking, he's getting lobs. He's like running in transition, hitting guys in corners for open threes. Like to me, for him, you want to like treat him as like an on-ball scorer. He's not Luka or nothing, but you want to treat him as one of these like on-ball offensive threats. And I think the Lakers will. They have a lot of versatility to do that. A lot of guys they can throw at him. But yeah, it's a fun matchup. Offense versus defense, really like a clash of styles. And like I said earlier, usually I lean defense in those type of matchup. Defense usually wins in those matchups together. So should be a fun one on Saturday.
It's effectively going to be a home game for the Lakers. Anybody who has been to Vegas for summer league will tell you that the Lakers run that town. So it's going to make it really interesting whenever whenever the league sends a team to Vegas, what the buy-in there is going to be from that city. They have gotten behind the Vegas Golden Knights because they have won, and they have certainly gotten behind the Las Vegas the Las Vegas Aces because they
Oh
have
yeah.
won. So yeah, I'm really curious what that would look like. But you have generations upon generations upon generations of Lakers fans there. While that city hasn't really had a sport to really hang its hat on. So yeah, for what this game is going, a championship that the Lakers are participating in Las Vegas is going to be loud. Like that,
Yeah.
you and Shub were talking about how you guys are going to go to the game. And I'm telling you, what you guys are going to be walking in on is going to be a game at Staples Center. It is going to be
I
that kind of loud and packed and rowdy for Lakers or
I
for Lakers fans.
I say this a lot, but the loudest arena I've ever been in, Anthony, was Lonzo's second game in summer league. They were
Yeah,
playing the Celtics summer league. So this Celtics summer league had Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum on it. I forgot who else. And the Lakers had Lonzo, Kuzma, who I had really no clue really like who he was. I think he dropped like 35 that night. Loudest arena that I've been in still so far. The Lakers
yeah.
sold that out. Summer league doesn't even sell the top row tickets like
They didn't
usually.
used to. Mhm.
Yeah, that year it was filled to the brim on the top. I got there 9 hours early. I got there when they opened and
Yeah.
went in like got a seat because it's first come first serve in terms of seating. And yeah, so I sat there and waited the whole day for the game, and it was totally worth it. But yeah, Lakers would should like fill that T-Mobile Arena out, and it should be loud. And yeah, it should be an exciting environment, home game for the team.
And the nice thing, like you just talked about, I because of the type of defense that the Lakers play, like
Mm-hmm.
I have full like they're when you're a defensive minded team, your
Mm-hmm.
floor is so high, right? Like
Right.
we saw what the Lakers floor looked like when they were trying to be more of like a skill finesse offensive team. And that floor was in purgatory. like, like that floor was the bad place. And this floor though, when you play this type of defense that the Lakers are playing, I know that at the very least, if they show up, they're going to be competitive.
Right.
You know, they will range anywhere from competitive to absolutely overwhelming as they were tonight or last night by the time you guys are listening to this. And frankly, like that's honestly what I wanted to end on is just kind of like basking in how much fun that was. You know,
Yeah.
basking in like how fun it is to like have a Lakers team that has an identity, a Lakers team whose identity is built on something that is good enough to win a championship, right? So essentially, like in the NBA, you have to be elite at something to have a chance at winning a championship, right? Some teams are just insane in the clutch. Some teams are just outrageous on offense, and some teams are just overwhelming on defense. And in this case, the Lakers are that last thing. And you know, having a team that is this good at that thing again after like you know kind of wandering through the desert for a couple years when they squandered that identity after winning a championship, arriving back here to me is really cool, right? I'm an
Yeah.
English major. I'm a writer by nature. I look for good stories, and in this case, this is such a cool story that this team was like, all right, this is the thing that we need to take the next step. We're absolutely wrong in what that thing was that they needed, and who it was that would bring that thing to them. And then they kind of wandered around for a little bit and arrived back here to maybe even have like I'm not saying better, but like a bulked up version of that identity,
Yeah.
right? Where like that team, Caruso is a point guard, KCP is a shooting guard, and as such they are smaller people. In
Yeah.
this case, though, you have like wings who are playing this type of defense, and it's just like it's like a hulked out 1920 team.
Yeah, 100%. I think these, and also like just comparing those, obviously that team was awesome. I think that team just has a higher floor in terms of stability. But I feel like this team creates more chaos. They're a little bit more
Mhm.
wild. They're able to get out and transition a little bit more. They like create more turnovers than the other team. And I think sneakily, and like as great as it would be to win the in-season tournament, like we got all we got all the wins that matter towards the regular season. So this one I feel like would be great to win it. But Lakers are now like sneakily they've got to the second most wins in the West. They're 14-9, 5 games above 500, a mark they never got to last season. And this is again like they're I think second in defense in the last 11 games, around 20th in offense. I believe you're gonna have to have at least a top 10 in either. I feel like just contenders, that's like the mark of a contender if
Yeah,
you're in the top 10 in both. And I do think the offense has a lot of like margin to improve. And like we joke about Gabe Vincent, but like he is an offensive lenient kind of player that's coming back. Rui, I think, just got his footing tonight. He basically got a second half practice in because New Orleans threw
yeah,
the white flag. Yeah, threw the white flag like pretty early on in
yeah.
this one. So he was able to kind of cook and get in rhythm. And I think like the offense still has so much to go. Anthony Davis is still, I think, getting his like kinks worked out in terms of as a like where he's getting his shots from and his comfortability on the jump shot. So I feel like the offense can still step up. But yeah, the defense looks elite, and I think it's consistent for number one in defense last 11 games. That's legit. That's a ton of time. Also, like without Vando, without Rui, playing Max, starting Max a lot of those games, who's now your third wing. Just a lot of margin and fun. It should be a fun season going forward as we're finally healthy and no trades. Thank you.
Hmm. On that note, let's talk about Zach LaVine.
He's not even
It,
playing for like 4 weeks. We can wait.
yeah. I look, if you guys want a full Zach LaVine rant, I went on a long one. I went on a bit of a tirade today with Aaron about Zach LaVine. From what I've been told, the Lakers aren't interested. They have wanted to be patient. They have wanted to see this roster, and for good reason, right? They have this roster together, and for the last two games, in like settings with stakes, right? They beat the Phoenix Suns. It was closer. I thought like the score. I think the score is closer than that game actually was in that Phoenix game. And then in this one, the score is pretty damn reflective of what the game looked like, where
Yeah,
the Lakers wind up winning by 44. Um, and this is why, right? This is why all along the Lakers, at least locally, have made it clear that no trades are anywhere near on the horizon because they wanted to see this group together before they made any kind of alteration. And when you see
right.
this type of performance, you see this type of effort, you see this identity. And by the way, when you have this identity, it allows for like a D'Angelo Russell, right? Who
Mm,
has some defensive deficiencies. It allows for Austin Reeves. It allows for Gabe Vincent, who's a little smaller, um, as a point guard. Like what the Lakers were able to do with all of their wings and with the anchors of LeBron and AD being your free safeties on defense, it allows you to do some other things that help bolster the offense and like moving Taurean Prince to the two and stuff like that comes to mind as well. So yeah, as I said on in the lounge today with Aaron, um, the Levine stuff is all noise, I think, created by Chicago, hoping to drum up a market. The Lakers
yeah.
aren't interested. And this game, like Not that they would walk away from this one and be like, that's it, we're good, championship, we're never doing anything. No, but like this game and the possibility of it is why the Lakers haven't been interested in LaVine or frankly anybody who would require a big roster shift to get to this point. So
Right.
is that okay? Is that are you okay with that
Yeah,
type of trade
no,
talk?
that's fine. I would like to build, and a question I would love to tease on. Like, we don't have to answer this now. It's not a leading question. I promise. I'm just like I'm so fascinated with this. I've asked this around and I've got different answers. But how big is the gap, Anthony? Do you think? And again, you don't have to answer this here. We could do this another time. But how big is the gap between Vando and Caruso to you? Caruso made first team all defense last year, so I'll make that context. I don't think either are like considered offensive threats. Caruso has some big game winning threes, but he really rarely shoots. Teams really don't respect him as a shooter. So it's mostly defensive stuff. And I think Caruso's a better screener in terms of a short roll guy. But it's a fascinating question I've been thinking about. I don't know the answer. I think Caruso's better. I just don't know the gap. Where are you on that? Is there a huge gap between those two as players?
Jarred Vanderbilt has made one shot this season so far. He's played in 2 games.
Okay.
So like I like Jarred. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's going to be really interesting to see what he is going to look like with a LeBron who was shooting like this, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
last year, I thought that he got played off of the court in part because both LeBron and AD couldn't shoot last year.
Right.
And I think that is worth noting. I would I would say that there's like a tangible gap between the two players.
That's fair.
It could shrink. It could shrink because Vanderbilt is bigger, and in this
Mhm.
sport, size really matters. But I do think there is a gap, and I think it's a tangible one for now. But by the way,
Yeah.
like, all right, I was really careful with my words for a reason a second ago, where I said the Lakers are not interested in a trade that requires like roster overhaul, right? So if you're going to trade for Zach LaVine, that requires
Mhm.
$40 million of contracts going out. That is roster overhaul.
Mhm.
You can get Caruso for Vincent and a couple firsts. That's not roster overhaul. And by the way, I'm not positive Gabe Vincent is going to play this season, right? So like when you talk about um like the type of moves that the Lakers would be interested in, turning a player who hasn't really done anything to this point and nobody is particularly confident that they're going to see this season into a first team all defensive presence in Caruso, like that's the kind of thing that the Lakers would do. And like if they keep this up, if they keep performances like this up and it indicates to them that they are capable of winning a championship, that is
Yeah.
the type of team that they're willing to trade a couple first rounders to bolster, right? The
Absolutely.
the the argument to this point in building these rosters out for the last few years is they weren't positive that a roster could be built around these guys that could go on that kind of a run, but
Right.
they saw them go on that kind of a run last year with again like a pretty good roster, but a still somewhat flawed one. But if you're able to basically add a Caruso type defender to this group, like think about what that team could do defensively. Good God, man. Like that is that you're entering the conversation of some of the best defenses ever if you add that
Mm.
type of defender to this team.
Yeah. Right.
And that is the kind of thing that like doesn't require a big chunk of your rotation to come out because by the way, with Austin and D'Lo playing the way that they are, and with the wings playing the way that they are, I'm not really sure where Vincent fits in anyway, right? And so like if you're able to find that turn that player into somebody like Caruso, even if it costs a bunch of draft capital, it's going to cost at least one unprotected first rounder and then one heavily protected uh first rounder or like the 75 second rounders that we've seen teams start to move around
Mhm.
the board. But yeah, like uh, I don't know. The reason I brought up Levine here at the end of the show is again to illustrate why the Lakers they haven't been so frustrated with the trade talks
Mhm.
that they would like send out a leak to say that no the Levine stuff because also like they want a good relationship with Clutch and like you have that dynamic on, and if they basically say that like we are not a part of that market, that hurts Clutch's ability to uh, negotiate a better situation for one of their bigger clients moving forward. So I think for a variety of reasons, the Lakers aren't going to come out publicly and say like that is not something that we are interested in now. But from the private conversations that I've had, and for some of the other, and some of the pushback that I've gotten is like, why would we make a deal now before we see what this team looks like? And
Yeah.
it isn't like Trevor Ariza that they're like a 43-year-old Trevor Ariza that they were waiting for. They were waiting for Jarred Vanderbilt, who clearly is
Hmm.
an impact player. They were waiting for, like a barrage of wings that they could throw at these teams to actually like see what that looks like before they make a decision like that. And am I saying that like that trade definitely isn't happening? No, because you never know what happens in the NBA. Maybe Levine's price is just so low that the Lakers are somehow able to get there. I don't
Yeah.
see it, but whatever. But like in terms of like what their inclination to this point has been, and this is me saying this, I am about as critical about the Lakers as anybody. I think it's been the right inclination, it's been the right instincts, and sticking with it right is exemplified, or why they should have stuck with it is exemplified by them beating the shit out of a Pelicans team who was playing good basketball heading into this
Right.
game.
I love that I asked you Vando and Caruso. You somehow still brought up Zach Levine in that.
Well,
I
because
just kidding, but yeah,
that's like the big rumor that like
no,
it
for
just like
sure.
won't die. The rumor won't
No,
die. And I'm like,
no,
and
for
I'm
sure.
sitting here like fighting against it as often as I can. Like, this isn't somebody
No,
that they
I
like.
mean,
He
you
doesn't
can't.
fit their identity.
No, you can't fight against it. That's a fire that Shams and Woj keep throwing, gasoline on, just like keep having it burn. But I didn't realize. I mean, Alex Caruso is shooting 47% from three this season, which I don't think is real. But like,
No.
and he's taking like 3.5 a game, so it's been more legit than I thought. But I still think like in a playoff setting, teams probably dare him to
Yeah.
shoot. I think he's better than Vando as well. It's just interesting to me. They're both guys who play Anthony, right? Like 20-25 minutes. They're not like 35-minute a game guys. Like their coaches don't play them that, at least, right, as much
Yeah.
as we begged for it. So they're both like energy, like very high motor defense, smart team defensive guys. I just think it's interesting, the conversation around both of them. But I see Alexis in the chat asking like Vincent or Caruso. Like that's not even a question for
Yeah.
me. Like that's,
Well,
if you can swap
I,
Vincent for Caruso, I
I know the
do that
question she's
yesterday.
asking, right, is that like at least in theory, Vincent is
Hmm.
better offensively. But the thing
Sure.
is, Vincent before these last playoffs was very like his like statistical profile was actually very similar to Caruso's, right? Maybe a touch more volume or whatever, but like I think he's like a career 33% 3-point shooter. He has never lit the world on fire in the way that he did in last year's playoffs. That was like one of the concerns that I had when they signed
Yeah.
him, right? Was like, if he isn't that, I'm not really sure how he fits. And I'm not
But it's
saying that
tough.
he's what he's been to this point, right? Where he's like
No, he can't
14%
be.
3-point shooter, but I think it might be somewhat realistic to hope for like 40% 3-point shooting from him.
But we always talk, Anthony, like how the playoffs make your name, right? Like, and the Lakers
Yeah,
just had 2 rounds, and Gabe Vincent had 3 rounds of like, or 4 rounds, whatever it is, like of legit, like really good basketball play. And it wasn't just the shooting to me that I was excited about. He's a legit like ball screen guard, and obviously that's all wrapped around his shooting. But
yeah,
like, he's a legit, like, he gets the floaters. He gets like, he was getting fouled. He was cooking Al Horford's kind of, I don't know how much stake you put into cooking Al Horford, but like he was like getting Al Horford on switches and driving right by him. He was cooking Robert Williams on switches, right? Putting Tatum and Brown, like cooking Tatum and Brown, like when they were switched on to him. Like he has a lot of off the bounce stuff that I don't think we've seen yet, because he's 1 for 14 from three, 7% or something on the season. So like when you shoot that bad, it's just tough to have any else part of your game going. I think that's the ceiling for Vincent, to where you add his offense to an elite defense, and Gabe's also, I think, a above average point of attack defender. I just, like, you haven't seen it yet, but Caruso is just one of the best defenders in the league, period. And that was like, you don't make
yeah,
first team all defense. You made first team all defense on a Bulls team that didn't make the playoffs. I mean, just like, how good you gotta be defensively to make first team all defense on a team that doesn't make the playoffs. So like, I think they're in different tiers as players, just in my opinion. But I think we've kind of crapped on Gabe a lot just because of his start on the season. He's better than this. The Lakers didn't give a guy 3 years, 30 million, who's a 7% 3-point shooter. Like that's just, that just did not happen this summer, Anthony. That did not. That's not what happened this summer. At least I hope.
I don't think so either. All right, this has been a blast. What a fun night. The Lakers again beat the New Orleans Pelicans 133-89 and absolutely put the final nail in the coffin. They won the trade with Anthony Davis, as if that was ever somehow still a conversation. That is now over. This has been a blast, Raj. Thank you a ton for hopping on here. Again, if you want more of this stuff, you know, and me and Raj having a good time in the moments here, you can do so on All Access Lakers. Again, that's playback.tv/All Access Lakers. Make an account, watch us, and join in the comments and stuff like that. We have a blast over there. They also have an iOS app that you can download as well. If that is an easier way for you to second screen the action as well. That I believe that they just made some improvements to today that they announced. So check that out as well. So Raj, again, thank you a ton. Everybody who have tuned in. This is a big show tonight. So thank you everybody for tuning in the way that you guys did. Again, hit that subscribe button. We have another happy hour show coming tomorrow afternoon. And until then, and until the next time I talk to you guys, I'm Anthony Irwin saying have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's, and I'll talk to you mañana.
Viva Las Vegas.